Assalamu alaikum students, and welcome to the introductory biology lecture 20. Our today's topic is recombinant DNA technology. This is the overview of my talk. I will introduce you to the recombinant DNA technology. Then we will talk about different tools for recombinant DNA technology. That includes the enzymes that cut the DNA. That includes enzymes that can join the DNA. That includes plasmids or vectors that can carry the DNA into the host cells. That includes host cells themselves, and that also includes the process of taking those recombined DNA into the host cells. And I will also talk about the uses of recombinant DNA technology at the start of this lecture as well as at the end of this lecture. So when we talk about the genetically modified organism, we should be aware that humans have been genetically modifying organisms for thousands of years without understanding the basis of those modifications, without understanding the genetic basis of those modifications. So without any knowledge of genetics, humans have been altering the genetic makeup of organisms through a process called selective breeding or artificial selection. So what is selective breeding or artificial selection? It is choosing the desirable traits, such as, for dogs, it could be size, hair, length, color, etc. And, you combine them, you mate the organisms with the desire of combining those characteristics in the offspring. So this is what is what is called artificial selection or selective breeding. And this process was first initiated around 30,000 years ago, or we have record of this process being initiated around 30,000 years ago, actually 32,000 years ago in Southeast Asia, where first wolves were domesticated, and all the modern dogs that we see today, from Chihuahuas to Corgis, they all originated from these wolves that were domesticated about 30,000 years ago. So over the years, people selected different traits in these wolves, and then then we see the modern dog. Similarly, for wheat, was domesticated around 8,000 years ago in Southwest Asia near Turkey, and we all know that this is a major staple crop all over the world, especially we utilize a lot of wheat in Pakistan. So these are the ancient genetic modifications, and one of the most stark ancient genetic modifications is the domestication of domestication of maize around 3,000 years ago in Mexico. And you see, this is the cob of the wild maize, and this is the cob of the modern maize, and you see a huge difference. And this was done over many generations, and now we use this modern maize in agriculture in many all over the world actually. So these are the ancient genetic modification methods, and the modern actually method started in 20th century, late 20th century, when the first genetically modified bacteria was made in 1973. And then, genetically modified organisms were made in 1974. And the first patent for a genetically modified organism was awarded in 1980 for a bacteria. We'll talk about this later. In 1982, first human insulin produced in bacteria was produced for use for human for diabetic patients, and it was called Humulin. Similarly, first food crop was produced in 1992. These were tomatoes called Flavor Saver. So that stayed, they had extended shelf lives that stayed fresh for a longer period of time. Similarly, in 1995, crops that had insecticidal properties because they contained a toxin that could kill the insects, and this was approved in 1995. In 2000, a rice variety was approved that had beta carotene. So it is a precursor for vitamin A. So for people with vitamin A deficiency, this rice variety was approved. And in 2009, uh, thrombin was produced, antithrombin was produced in goat milk. So this was approved as well. So we'll talk about that later as well. So, as I mentioned, the first patent was awarded to Ananda Chakrabarty in 1980 for producing bacteria that could, break down crude oil. And, this showed for the first time that a live human-made microorganism is patentable. Right. So after this bacteria that he produced it was a Pseudomonas variety that contained multiple genes that could break down different components, different hydrocarbons that are present in crude oil. And such bacteria were used in the oil rig disaster that released, millions of barrels of oils into the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. And there's actually a movie starring Mark Wahlberg with the same name, The Deepwater Horizon, that describes the disaster in detail. Similarly, we talked about flavor saver tomatoes. So normal tomato has a very short shelf life. So in 20 days, it looks like this. In 40 days, it's completely rotten. But the genetically modified tomatoes, they can stay fresh for 45 days. Similarly, I talked about Bt, insecticidal crops. So Bt is a bacterial toxin from bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis. And this toxin actually kills insects. So what you can do is you can take the gene that encodes that toxin and put that gene into the crops. So when the insects, they bite those crops, they actually eat that toxin and they die. So these crops are, have been produced for potato, cotton, maize, rice. Actually, the Bt cotton is now grown in Pakistan as well. Similarly, I talked about golden rice. So they were first produced in year 2000. So there's our golden rice 2 as well that were produced in 2005 that have 26 times more beta carotene than the golden rice that were produced in 2000. So there's a huge vitamin deficiency in children in many parts of the world, and this kills actually 500,000 children every year. Every year, it can actually blind people as well. So these rice, they contain beta carotene in the edible part, and this is a precursor for vitamin A. So eating this rice can actually eliminate vitamin A deficiency. Similarly, there's an anticoagulant called antithrombin that is used used during delivery, during child labor. And this anticoagulant actually is usually taken from the blood of the donors. But this company produced this drug called Etrin, and this drug is anticoagulant is produced in the milk of these goats. So one goat can actually produce enough anticoagulant that is equal, one goat in a 1 year can produce enough anticoagulant that is equal to 90,000 blood donations. So you can imagine how easy it is to, breed goats and get the milk from them than, getting donations from people and purifying it from blood. Similarly, the first genetically modified animal for human consumption was approved recently, and this is a salmon. You can see two salmons here. This longer one expresses a gene for growth hormone, and this is the normal salmon. So, this salmon grows bigger in shorter period of time. So it can be ready in 16 to 18 months compared to 3 years that a normal salmon takes place. So, we come to recombinant DNA technology. So this is the manipulation and combination of DNA molecules from different sources. So you take, in conventional breeding, you can only work within a species. You can only breed animals that are from the similar species. But with the recombinant DNA technology, as I just explained, you can take insecticidal gene, a toxin gene that kills insects from bacteria, and put that insecticidal gene into a plant. Similarly, you can take a human gene, for example, gene for insulin, and put that human gene into bacteria to produce insulin for use in humans again. So this is the use of the recombinant DNA technology, that you can take DNA molecules from many different sources. So you can take a piece of DNA from any source. So you can take from bacteria, you can take from plants, you can take from animals, and attach it chemically to another DNA. So you can attach two DNAs chemically. And you can target any organism. You can make genetically modified organism from any species, any genus, any class. So there are certain key players that I mentioned before. There are restriction endonucleases. They cut DNA. There are DNA ligases. They join DNA. And plasmids are actually extra chromosomal circular DNA molecules from bacteria that can carry DNA that you need to put into an organism. So their function is that they carry the DNA. So as I mentioned earlier, the first recombinant DNA was produced by two scientists in 1973. They were Stanley Cohen and Herbert Bayer from University of Stanford and University of California. What they did was they took these plasmids from E. coli. I mentioned in my previous slide that plasmids are extra chromosomal DNA, circular DNA molecules that are able to replicate independent of the bacterial replication. So they are extra chromosomal, they are circular, and they can replicate independent of the bacterial replication. So these plasmids, they contain these two genes. So one is kanamycin resistant gene, the other plasmid contains tetracycline resistance gene. So what this means is that when these plasmids are put into bacteria, so let's say we have two bacteria here and here. So we put the kanamycin resistant plasmid into one and tetracycline resistant plasmid into another. So this is kanamycin, this is tetracycline. So this bacteria will grow on antibiotic, media containing antibiotic, kanamycin. So they will grow on kanamycin because the gene that they contain, the kanamycin resistant gene, makes a protein that enables bacteria to grow on kanamycin. This bacteria contains tetracycline gene. So this makes a protein that makes these bacteria grow on media containing tetracycline antibiotics. So this bacteria cannot grow on tetracycline, and this bacteria cannot grow on kanamycin. So what they did was they cut these plasmids. So remember, I just told you that there are three components of recombinant DNA technology: enzymes that can cut the DNA, and enzymes that can join the DNA, and then plasmids that can carry the DNA. So you see, you can cut this DNA. So they cut the plasmid that contain kanamycin gene, they cut the plasmid that contain tetracycline gene, and they combine these plasmids. So now this plasmid has both the gene. It has the kanamycin resistance gene and it has the tetracycline resistance gene. So when they put this bacteria on a media that contains both kanamycin and tetracycline, these bacteria, they grow happily. So they grow on both kanamycin and tetracycline. So none of these bacteria will grow on the media that contains both kanamycin and tetracycline. So how do you cut DNA into smaller fragments? So there are enzymes called restriction enzymes that can cut the DNA into smaller fragments, and they are part of the bacterial defense mechanism. So when a virus, for example, a bacteriophage shown here, attacks a bacteria, it inserts its DNA into the bacteria. And this DNA insertion is required for producing viral protein and viral DNA to produce more virus particles. However, bacteria produces these proteins called restriction enzymes, and these restriction enzymes can digest this viral DNA into small pieces, so virus is not able to replicate inside the bacteria. These enzymes, however, do not attack the bacterial DNA because bacterial DNA contains chemical modification called methylation or methyl groups that doesn't allow these restriction enzymes to cut the bacterial DNA. So we say that restriction enzymes are naturally occurring enzymes that cleave DNA. They are isolated from bacteria, all of these restriction enzymes that we know. Bacteria produce restriction enzymes that degrade phage DNA. So this is their natural defense mechanism of bacteria, to produce these restriction enzymes so that they can escape the attack by the bacteriophages. So these enzymes cut the phosphodiester bond. So you know, in DNA you have a phosphodiester bond between the 3' hydroxyl group and 5' phosphate group of the ribose sugars. So they cut the bond, phosphodiester bond, between the 3' hydroxyl group of one nucleotide and 5' phosphate group of the next one. Also, the restriction enzymes are very specific. They cut at the specific sequence of bases, and these, restriction sites, specific sequence of bases, are called restriction sites that are recognized by these restriction enzymes. For example, the E. coli bacteria has a restriction enzyme called EcoR1, and this cuts at a sequence called GAATTC. And this sequence is palindromic, means that if you start from 5' to 3' on one strand, it reads the same on the other strand when you read from 5 to 3'. So GAATTC on one strand and GAATTC on the other strand. Okay, so let me remind you how the phosphodiester bond looks like. So this is the 3' hydroxyl. This is the bond between 3' hydroxyl group and 5' phosphate group. So these bonds are present sugars के दरमियान जो bonds हैं. So the restriction enzymes, they cleave these bonds. So ये वाले bonds को वो cleave करते हैं, ठीक है? So the phosphodiester bond है, उसको cleave करते हैं. So now जो cleavage है restriction enzyme का, वो staggered भी हो सकता है. If it is staggered का मतलब क्या है? For example, if this is sequence AAGCTT, इधर से भी यही read कर रहा है AAGCTT, तो if the restriction enzyme recognizes this whole sequence and then cuts between the A and A on this strand and A and A on this strand, so this produces these protruding ends. So these protruding ends have the same sequence. So इस fragment का भी वही sequence है, इस fragment का भी वही sequence है. So TTCGA, TTCGA. So these are called sticky. They are called sticky ends क्योंकि अगर हम इनको दोबारा आपस में करीब ले आएंगे तो because these are complementary to each other, तो एक दूसरे के साथ हाइड्रोजन बॉन्ड्स बना लेंगे. So that's why they are called sticky ends. इसी तरह एक और एग्जांपल है PST1 एंजाइम की, वो भी sticky ends प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है. However, not all the restriction enzymes they produce sticky ends. अभी मैंने आपको E. coli का एक एंजाइम दिखाया था, EcoR1. यहाँ पे E. coli का एक और एंजाइम है called EcoR5, and this actually produces blunt end. So there is no complementary sequence, no protruding ends in this cleaved product as shown here. So how do you create recombinant DNA? So let's suppose you have two DNA from two different organisms. Let's say one is blue. So you have GAATTC. This is 5' N, this is 3' N, and then you have CTTAAG. So same sequence in the reverse order, 5' N, 3' N, and then you have DNA from another source. So that also have the same restriction site, GAATTC, 3' N, 5' N, and then you have CTTAAG, 5' N, 3' N, and you produce cuts here. So it cuts between A and G. So it cuts between A and G. So it will produce sticky ends. So it will produce, you know, G, C, T, T, A, and it will also produce G, C, T, T, A. So this is 3', 5'. This is 5', 3'. Similarly, here you will have G, C, T, T, A, G, C, T, T, A. So this is 5', this is 3', this is 3', this is 5'. So what can happen now is you can, let's say this sequence is from bacteria, this sequence is from humans, doesn't matter. So you can take these DNA because they have the same sticky ends. So this sticky end, so A, T, T, C, G, 3', 5', can easily combine with the sequence A, T, T, C, G. So 5', 3'. So you end up with GAATTC, GAATTC. So this piece of DNA now has, a DNA from bacteria as well as human. So if I show you here, so EcoR1 makes staggered cuts, जो मैंने अभी आपको बताया है कि बिल्कुल सामने नहीं करता, एक इस तरफ है थोड़ा, एक इस तरफ है, between the G and A, DNA is cut from two different sources. One, as I showed you, is blue, the other one is gold. And then, it produces sticky ends that are complementary. So इस वाले जो sticky end produce हुए ये वाले, they are complementary to this. तो जब आप इनको combine करेंगे, you can produce a hybrid DNA molecule. ठीक? So अब क्या है कि जब ये आपस में complementary strands एक दूसरे के साथ hybridize करते हैं, तो क्या होता है कि आप ligases उसको जो nucleotides के दरमियान bond है उसको दोबारा बना देते हैं. So the next thing that is required for the recombinant DNA technology is the vectors. So vectors are, once you create a recombinant DNA, you need to take it to a host cell. So taking to a host cell requires a carrier. So the vectors are carriers. So they carry the DNA into a host cell. Vector can be a virus. So viruses can be used as vectors. So you can put your gene of interest into the viral genome, and when the virus infects a cell, so in addition to viral genes, your gene of interest also goes into the cell. But the most commonly used vectors are the plasmids. As I mentioned before, the plasmids are naturally occurring extra chromosomal circular DNA from bacteria. right? So the properties of typical plasmid is that they're smaller in size, so they have 2 to 6 kilobases in size. They have what is called multiple cloning site. So this is a site shown here in yellow. This is a site that contains restriction enzyme, cleavage sites for restriction enzymes. And these sites are unique. That means they are only present in the multiple cloning site, but nowhere else in that plasmid. So this is multiple cloning site. Another very important feature of a plasmid is that it contains an antibiotic resistance gene. So it contains an antibiotic resistance gene. For example, it can contain a kanamycin gene, or it can contain an ampicillin gene. So this is for the selection. So selection to see कि कौन से cells के अंदर plasmid आ गया है. So अगर आपने 1000 बैक्टीरिया के अंदर अपना प्लाज्मिड डाला है, तो मे बी उनमें से 1000 में से सिर्फ 100 बैक्टीरिया जिनके अंदर प्लाज्मिड आया है, बाकी 900 बैक्टीरिया में नहीं आया. So you want to differentiate कि कौन से बैक्टीरिया में प्लाज्मिड आया है and which bacteria they don't have the plasmid. So you put them on the antibiotic selection. So क्या है कि ऐसे मीडियम पे ग्रो करवाएं जिसके अंदर एंटीबायोटिक हो. So only the bacteria which have the antibiotic resistance gene, that is the plasmid, only those bacteria will survive. Another very important component is an ORI site. ORI site is origin of replication. So remember I said plasmids can replicate independently of bacterial replication. So they have an ORI site. So this is origin of replication where the DNA polymerase binds. So three very important parts of a plasmid. They have an antibiotic resistant gene, they have an ORI site, and they have a multiple cloning site. So this is an example of a plasmid. So you see these are, this is the multiple cloning site. So there are 3 sites in there. This is an antibiotic resistant gene, for example, ampicillin, and this is origin of replication. So origin of replication जहाँ से उस plasmid की copies बनना शुरू होती है. So how do you get the DNA in the cell? Oh, sorry. Once you make the recombinant DNA, why do you need to get into the cell? So you need to get into the cell to make lots of copies of that. Either those copies are required for analysis, or those copies are required for production of proteins. And this process is called cloning. So cloning क्या है कि आपने एक प्लाज्मिड के अंदर अपना DNA बना लिया. फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये आपके पास एक प्लाज्मिड है, उसके अंदर एक मल्टीपल क्लोनिंग साइट थी, ये मल्टीपल क्लोनिंग साइट थी, उसके अंदर आपने अपना जीन ऑफ इंटरेस्ट जो है वो क्लोन कर लिया. फर्ज करें ये आपका जीन ऑफ इंटरेस्ट है येलो के अंदर. सो ये आपका जीन ऑफ इंटरेस्ट आ गया. अब क्या है कि आपने इसको बैक्टीरिया में डाल के इसकी बहुत सारी कॉपीज बना लेनी है. सो वो कॉपीज बनाने के अमल को क्या कहते हैं? क्लोनिंग कहते हैं. सो कॉपीज बनाना क्यों जरूरी है? वो इसलिए जरूरी है कि आप एनालाइज कर सकें कि क्या आपके जीन का सीक्वेंस ठीक है, क्या वो क्लोनिंग ठीक हुई है, या फिर आपको वो बहुत सारी कॉपीज चाहिए टू प्रोड्यूस द प्रोटीन. लेट्स से आपने इंसुलिन प्रोड्यूस करनी है, तो उसके लिए भी आपको क्लोनिंग की जरूरत. सो क्लोनिंग क्या है कि आप बहुत सारी उसकी कॉपीज बना रहे हैं. So इसी तरह how do you get the DNA into the cells? So a common method of getting the DNA into the cells, or the process of getting the DNA into the bacterial cell, is called transformation. So क्या है कि आपने plasmid DNA बैक्टीरिया के अंदर डालना है, तो इस प्रोसेस को कहते हैं ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. अगर आपने एनिमल सेल्स के अंदर उसको डालना है, तो देन इट विल बी कॉल्ड ट्रांसफेक्शन. सो बैक्टीरियल सेल में डीएनए डालने के अमल को कहते हैं ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. और ये डीएनए किस शक्ल में है? दिस डीएनए इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ अ प्लाज्मिड. एंड अगर वो एनिमल सेल्स के अंदर डालना है, तो देन दिस इज कॉल्ड ट्रांसफेक्शन. इसी तरह मैंने अभी आपको बताया कि सिलेक्टेबल मार्कर जीन्स आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। सो ये जो प्लाज्मिड आपका है, इसके अंदर सिलेक्टेबल मार्कर होना जो है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। सो सिलेक्टेबल मार्कर क्या करेगा? सिलेक्टेबल मार्कर जो है, सो फर्ज करें ये एम्प रेजिस्टेंट जीन है, दैट विल अलाउ यू टू सिलेक्ट सेल्स जिनके अंदर प्लाज्मिड आ गया है। सो सेल्स जिनके अंदर प्लाज्मिड नहीं गया वो क्या कर सकेंगे? दे विल नॉट बी एबल टू ग्रो। ओनली द सेल्स दैट हैव द प्लाज्मिड दे विल बी एबल टू ग्रो ऑन द एंटीबायोटिक। सो जो उनसे सेल्स के अंदर रिकॉम्बिनेंट डीएनए आ जाए, उन सेल्स को हम कहते हैं ट्रांसजेनिक सेल या ट्रांसजेनिक ऑर्गेनिज्म इफ इट्स एन ऑर्गेनिज्म। ओके, सो ये तो हमने तय कर लिया कि आपने डीएनए बनाना कैसे है। सो यू कट द डीएनए थ्रू रिस्ट्रिक्शन एंजाइम्स, you join it together through DNA ligases, और ये you join it into let's say a plasmid। अब उस प्लाज्मिड को आपने सेल्स के अंदर डालना है। सो हाउ डू यू पुट दैट इन द सेल्स? सो क्या करते हैं कि आप सेल्स को केमिकली मॉडिफाई कर सकते हैं सो दे बिकम परमिएबल टू डीएनए। सो क्या करते हैं? फॉर एग्जांपल बैक्टीरिया को आप, हम उसे अपनी जुबान में कहते हैं कि कॉम्पिटेंट बैक्टीरिया बना लिया। साइंटिफिक लैंग्वेज में कहते हैं कि यू कैन मेक द बैक्टीरिया कॉम्पिटेंट। कॉम्पिटेंट का क्या मतलब है? कि नाउ दे कैन टेक अप द डीएनए। ठीक है। सो काफी मेथड्स हैं उसके। हीट शॉक वाला इज द मोस्ट कॉमन मेथड। जिन लोगों ने बायो 100 लैब की है दे विल नो के कैसे उसको सेल्स के अंदर डालते हैं। एक और मेथड है, उसको कहते हैं इलेक्ट्रोपोरेशन। सो व्हाट इज इलेक्ट्रोपोरेशन? इलेक्ट्रोपोरेशन क्या है कि आप इलेक्ट्रिक शॉक देते हैं सेल्स को, दैट क्रिएट्स टेम्परेरी पोर्स इनटू द membranes of the cells, और जिसके थ्रू देन डीएनए कैन एंटर द सेल। इसी तरह प्लांट्स के अंदर अगर आपने डीएनए डालना है तो क्या करते हैं कि आप प्लांट्स के अंदर जो डीएनए डालना है उसको पहले बैक्टीरिया के अंदर डाल देते हैं, और वो बैक्टीरिया फिर आप प्लांट के ऊपर डाल देते हैं। ठीक है। ये जो बैक्टीरिया है, एग्रोबैक्टीरियम ट्यूमिफेशियंस उसे कहते हैं, वो क्या करता है? वो फिर खुद ही डीएनए जो है अपना वो प्लांट को दे देता है। सो प्लांट्स आर ट्रांसफॉर्म्ड यूजिंग बैक्टीरिया। एक्चुअली प्लांट्स के और भी तरीके हैं, लेकिन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द मोस्ट कॉमन मेथड्स। इसी तरह आप क्या कर सकते हैं कि माइक्रो इंजेक्शन। सो इंजेक्शन एक नीडल है जो बहुत थिन है, जो कि सेल्स के अंदर डायरेक्टली न्यूक्लियस के अंदर जाके डीएनए जो है वो आप इंजेक्ट कर सकते हैं। इस प्रोसेस को हम कहते हैं माइक्रो इंजेक्शन। सो हमने कहा कि केमिकली मॉडिफाइड बैक्टीरिया, उसके अंदर आप डाल सकते हैं, प्रोसेस कॉल्ड ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, अभी हमने पिछली स्लाइड में पढ़ा है। दूसरा क्या है कि आप इलेक्ट्रोपोरेशन से डाल सकते हैं। तीसरा क्या है कि आप प्लांट्स के अंदर बैक्टीरिया से डाल सकते हैं। चौथा क्या है कि आप एनिमल्स के अंदर माइक्रो इंजेक्शन के जरिए डाल सकते हैं। इसके अलावा एनिमल सेल्स में डालने के और बहुत से मेथड हैं। पिछली स्लाइड में मैंने बताया था कि ट्रांसफेक्शन भी है एक मेथड, उससे भी आप डीएनए एनिमल सेल्स के अंदर डाल सकते हैं। ओके, सो आपने प्लाज्मिड बना लिया जिसके अंदर रिकॉम्बिनेंट डीएनए है। नाउ यू हैव टू पुट, once you have your recombinant DNA, then you need to put this into the host cell. And when you put this into a host cell, you need to figure out whether all the host cells have received this DNA, or how many of the host cell or which host cells have received this DNA. And that is helped by the antibiotic resistant gene that is present on the plasmid. If you remember the plasmid, so we said the plasmid has, for example, if this is a plasmid, so we said that this plasmid has a multiple cloning site where you put your gene of interest. So for example, this is your gene of interest. So this is your gene. It also has an ampicillin resistant gene or antibiotic resistant gene. In this case, for example, it can be ampicillin, or it can have, it can also have oocyte. So this is for the replication. So you put this into host cells. For example, you have many bacteria, and you put this plasmid into the bacteria. So what happens is that some bacteria will receive this plasmid, and this plasmid has antibiotic resistance gene, right? So when you put these bacteria on a Petri plate, that contains a medium that has ampicillin. So, you know, only the bacteria that have the plasmid with the antibiotic resistance gene only these bacteria will grow. The rest of the bacteria which don't have this plasmid, they will actually die. So now, you know, your plasmid can or cannot contain the gene. So when you do the cloning, sometimes, you know, plasmids, they don't take up the gene of interest. So how do you differentiate whether your plasmid has taken up the gene of interest or not? So that is actually done by visual screening that utilizes an enzyme called beta galactosidase. So beta galactosidase is encoded by the LAGZ gene. So this enzyme actually converts a chemical called XGAL into blue colored product. So when your beta gal is active, it gives blue colored colonies. When your beta gal is inactive, it gives you white bacterial colonies. So let's see how this works. So this is the plasmid. So you see, this is the LAGZ gene that encodes for beta galactosidase. And this is the AMP resistance, this is the ORI site. So what you do is there's a multiple cloning site here. So you cut it from here and you put your gene of interest in there. So now the beta galactosidase gene is disrupted. So this means this cannot make beta galactosidase protein. So that means that these colonies that receive this product or this plasmid, they will not be able to produce beta galactosidase enzyme, and that beta galactosidase enzyme will not be able to convert colonies into blue. So what you will get is, you know, if the colonies are blue, that means your gene for the beta galactosidase is still intact. That means it hasn't received the insert. If the colonies are white, like shown here, that means that your LAGZ gene has been disrupted and your colonies are now white, which means that your insert, this is gene of interest, is present in the plasmid. So this is the way through which you can differentiate between the plasmids that contain your gene of interest or the plasmids that don't contain your gene of interest. Similarly, you know, you can do visual screening where, for example, when you're transfecting mammalian cells with the plasmids, that plasmid can contain GFP protein. So GFP protein will fluoresce under UV light. So you will get bright green signal, fluorescence. So you can determine which cells have got your plasmid and which cells don't have your plasmid. So, you know, this selection for recombinant DNA is very important. एक को हम कहते हैं क्लोनिंग प्लाज्मिड्स और एक को हम कहते हैं एक्सप्रेशन प्लाज्मिड. क्लोनिंग अभी मैंने आपको एक्सप्लेन किया कि to make lots of copies of the plasmid is called cloning. So क्लोनिंग प्लाज्मिड में आपको क्या चाहिए? आपको मल्टीपल क्लोनिंग साइट चाहिए जिसके अंदर बहुत सारे रेस्ट्रिक्शन एंजाइम की साइट्स हों ताकि आप अपना जीन जो है वहां पे इंसर्ट कर सके. आपको एम्पिसिलिन रेजिस्टेंस वाला जीन चाहिए और आपको ओरी साइट चाहिए. जो एक्सप्रेशन वेक्टर है, फॉर एग्जांपल आपने इंसुलिन प्रोड्यूस करनी है, तो आप क्या करना चाहते हैं कि आपका जो जीन है वो ट्रांसक्राइब भी हो और ट्रांसलेट भी हो. तो ट्रांसक्रिप्शन के लिए आपके पास एक प्रमोटर होना चाहिए विच इज यूजुअली अपस्ट्रीम ऑफ मल्टीपल क्लोनिंग साइट. तो यहाँ पे आपके पास एक्चुअली राइबोसोम बाइंडिंग साइट भी होती है कई में, और एंड के ऊपर आपके पास एक टर्मिनेशन साइट भी होती है. ठीक, सो लेट मी मेक दिस बिट नाइसर. सो यहाँ पे आपके पास टर्मिनेशन साइट है, यहाँ पे आपके पास राइबोसोम बाइंडिंग साइट है। तो क्या होगा कि आपका प्रमोटर की वजह से आपका जीन जो है वो ट्रांसक्राइब होगा, जो भी यहाँ पे क्लोन होगा, लेट्स से ये यहाँ पे आपका जीन ऑफ इंटरेस्ट क्लोन हुए। सो ये प्लाज्मिड क्या करेगा, दिस विल ओनली प्रोड्यूस कॉपीज ऑफ द प्लाज्मिड. This plasmid, because it has a promoter or ribosome binding site, तो ये क्या करेगा, this will produce protein. ठीक, तो एक्सप्रेशन प्लाज्मिड्स क्या करते हैं, दे प्रोड्यूस प्रोटीन्स. क्लोनिंग प्लाज्मिड्स क्या करते हैं, दे प्रोड्यूस कॉपीज ओनली. ओके, सो अभी मैंने आपको बताया क्लोनिंग वेक्टर आपका मल्टीपल कॉपीज प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए. एक्सप्रेशन वेक्टर आपका कि वो क्या करेगा, वो mRNA प्रोड्यूस करेगा और वो आपकी प्रोटीन प्रोड्यूस करेगा. सो दिस इज फॉर द प्रोटीन प्रोडक्शन. सो क्लोनिंग प्लाज्मिड, मल्टीपल कॉपीज ऑफ द जीन कैन बी मेड. प्रोटीन एक्सप्रेशन प्लाज्मिड में प्रोटीन इज एक्सप्रेस्ड फ्रॉम अ जीन. Okay, to summarize, you know, we've learned that you can manipulate and combine DNA molecules from different sources using recombinant DNA technology. Restriction enzyme जो हैं वो ऐसे enzymes हैं that cut DNA at specific sequence. This is very important that they cut at specific sequences. DNA molecules cut with the same restriction enzymes can be joined together by DNA ligases. तो अगर आपने एक DNA, दो DNA molecules को एक ही एंजाइम के साथ कट किया है तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं, उसको ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं. ठीक, और रिकम्बिनेंट DNA को आप क्लोन कर सकते हैं, उसकी मल्टीपल कॉपीज बना सकते हैं इनटू होस्ट, इन द होस्ट. फॉर एग्जांपल, vectors such as plasmid are used to carry the recombinant DNA into the host cells. ये हमने डिस्कस किया. और प्लाज्मिड्स जो हैं उनकी तीन प्रॉपर्टीज हमने कहा बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. दे हैव रिस्ट्रिक्शन साइट्स, दे हैव सेलेक्टेबल मार्कर्स एंड दे हैव एन ओरी साइट. So how can you produce a protein like insulin in bacteria? So what you do is you have an expression plasmid. So remember we said expression plasmid has a promoter, expression plasmid has a ribosome binding sequence, expression plasmid has a cloning site, and it has a terminator of transcription sequence. It also has selection markers and ORI site that are not shown here. So what you do is you take a foreign gene, for example, a gene for insulin, and that you put that in here where you have this BAMH1 restriction enzyme site. So your foreign gene is inserted here, and then you put this foreign gene into bacteria. So because this has a promoter, a ribosome binding site, so what will happen is that bacteria will produce mRNA, and this mRNA will be translated into protein. So you can isolate the protein from the bacteria. And there are actually many examples of human proteins that are produced and used currently. That includes colony stimulating factor that is required for production of blood, white blood cells. Erythropoietin is very commonly used in anemic patients. So it produces the production of red blood cells. Growth hormones are, for example, used to increase the height of people with short stature. Insulin, we all know, is used to treat type 1 diabetes. And you know, platelet drive growth factor stimulates wound healing, and TPA, or tissue plasminogen activator, is used to dissolve blood clots after heart attacks or strokes. Now we'll talk about this example of tissue plasminogen activator. So tissue plasminogen activator is an enzyme that converts plasminogen into plasmin. So plasmin is a very important enzyme that can dissolve the blood clot. So it catalyzes the dissolution. So catalyzes the dissolution of clotting proteins. So for example, as I mentioned in previous slide, patients with heart attacks or strokes, they have blood clots, and plasmin can be used to dissolve these blood clots. So in 1970s, there was an enzyme called streptokinase that was taken from bacteria. So bacteria produce this enzyme. However, this enzyme also causes dissolution of clots. However, this enzyme, because it was bacterial enzyme, it triggered immune responses, and sometimes it dissolved all the clots in the body, so it caused uncontrolled bleeding. And then people discovered TPA, which from humans, so it doesn't cause any immune response, bound specifically to the blood clots. And however, its production from the human tissue was very limited. So scientists came up with the solution. So what they did was they isolated the RNA for this enzyme. So this RNA was reverse transcribed into cDNA by an enzyme called reverse transcriptase. This enzyme is present in RNA viruses such as HIV virus. And then it was cloned into an expression plasmid. So this is an expression plasmid for E. coli. And then, it was put into the bacteria. So bacteria produce this protein, and this protein can be used for patients who have heart attacks or strokes because of the blood clots. Now, another very important application of recombinant DNA technology is formation of genomic libraries. So all the genes that we clone for using the recombinant DNA technology, what is their source? Where do they come from? So they can come from different libraries. These can be genomic libraries, these can be cDNA libraries that I will describe in the next slide. So what is a genomic library? This is a library that contains pieces of all the genome of an organism. For example, it can be a genomic library of human genome. So that will contain all the DNA present in the human genome. So what you do is you have the human double-stranded DNA, you chop it down with restriction enzymes. So you get millions of genomic DNA fragments, and then you insert these fragments into plasmids, and then you put these plasmid into bacteria. So what is the difference between genomic versus cDNA libraries? So the genomic library, you chop down the genome as it is. So it can contain exon, it can contain intron, it can contain non-transcribed DNA, so everything. And then you cleave it into small fragments, and these fragments are cloned into bacteria, cloned into plasmid, and then inserted into bacteria. A cDNA library is representative of the expressed genes. So all the genes that are expressed in an organism, it is representative of that. For example, this organism might have two genes. So gene A and B, they are transcribed. So you have the RNA transcripts, and then from these RNA transcript, you have the mRNA, and these mRNAs you can reverse transcribe into cDNAs and clone these cDNA fragments and put them in the bacteria. So all the genes that are in this example, only two genes are shown, but all the genes that are expressed in an organism, they are represented in the cDNA library. So in the genomic library, you have the whole genome. In the cDNA library, you have only the transcribed genes, only the genes that produce mRNAs that are present in the cDNA library. Now, one of the techniques that is commonly used to amplify the DNA is called polymerase chain reaction. It's a very, it's one of the most basic techniques that we use in the lab. It can amplify DNA that is, 10 to power minus 12 gram or 1 picogram DNA. That's very little amount of DNA. So what you have is you have this double-stranded DNA, 5 prime to 3 prime, 5 prime to 3 prime. What you can do is you can heat it. So heat करने से क्या होगा कि DNA will denature. तो आपके पास दो फ्रेगमेंट्स आ गए, दो उसके स्ट्रैंड्स आ गए, 5 प्राइम टू 3 प्राइम इधर आ गया, 5 प्राइम टू 3 प्राइम इधर आ गया. नाउ आपने डीएनए रेप्लिकेशन में पढ़ा होगा कि जो डीएनए का सिंथेसिस है दैट हैपेंस ऑलवेज फ्रॉम 5 प्राइम टू 3 प्राइम एंड इट हैपेंस विद द हेल्प ऑफ प्राइमर्स. तो अगर आप स्पेसिफिक प्राइमर्स डिजाइन कर ले इस सीक्वेंस के, जो लेट्स सपोज यहाँ पे बाइंड करे और यहाँ पे बाइंड करे, सो 5 प्राइम टू 3 प्राइम इधर जाए, 5 प्राइम टू 3 प्राइम इधर जाए, तो ये क्या होगा, इफ यू ऐड डीएनए पॉलीमरेज इनटू इट, तो क्या करेगा ये डीएनए को सिंथेसाइज करना शुरू कर देगा. सो दैट्स व्हाट हैपेंस. सो यू ऐड द प्राइमर्स, यू कूल इट डाउन ताकि प्राइमर्स अटैच हो जाएं. सो प्राइमर्स आर कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री टू द सीक्वेंसेस इन दिस डीएनए. सो प्राइमर्स they need to be complementary and they're 5 prime to 3 prime, 5 prime to 3 prime. तो क्या होगा कि आपका डीएनए इस डायरेक्शन में सिंथेसाइज होगा, आपका डीएनए इस डायरेक्शन में सिंथेसाइज होगा. तो ये आपका ओल्ड स्ट्रैंड है और ये आपका न्यू स्ट्रैंड जो है वो बन जाएगा. सो दिस इज व्हाट यू सी कि आप क्या करेंगे, आप डीएनए पॉलीमरेज डाल देंगे, आप न्यूक्लियोटाइड्स डाल देंगे, सारे एडेनिन, गुआनिन, साइटोसिन, थायमिन सारे डाल देंगे. तो क्या होगा कि आपका नया स्ट्रैंड जो है वो 5 प्राइम टू 3 प्राइम डायरेक्शन में बन जाएगा. सो इस तरह एक साइकिल कंप्लीट हो जाएगी. सो एक साइकिल में क्या हुआ कि आपके एक डीएनए मॉलिक्यूल से दो डीएनए मॉलिक्यूल्स बन गए. तो आप दूसरी साइकिल करेंगे तो क्या होगा, ये डीएनए फिर वो सेपरेट हो जाएगा और फिर इससे साथ प्राइमर लगेंगे, फिर वो रेप्लिकेशन होगी. सो इसके 4 स्ट्रैंड बन जाएंगे. सो जितनी आप साइकिल्स करेंगे, सो आप देख रहे हैं कि उतनी आपके हर साइकिल में जो डीएनए के मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं वो डबल होते जाए. सो दिस इज हाउ यू कैन एम्पलीफाई फ्रॉम अ वेरी स्मॉल क्वांटिटी ऑफ डीएनए. सो जो एंजाइम यूज होता है वो एक्चुअली इट्स कॉल्ड टैक polymerase. It's a special kind of DNA polymerase enzyme that is isolated from a bacteria that can grow at very high temperature. So Thermus aquaticus. और इस एंजाइम की वजह से ये जब आप डीएनए के स्ट्रैंड्स को सेपरेट करने के लिए हीट करते हैं तो ये एंजाइम आपको बार बार नहीं डालना पड़ता, ठीक, बिकॉज दिस एंजाइम इज रेजिस्टेंट टू हाई टेम्परेचर्स. ओके, सो अब आपने एम्पलीफाई कर लिया डीएनए, तो हाउ कैन यू सेपरेट द डीएनए और विजुलाइज द डीएनए. तो वो जो हम करते हैं वो एक्चुअली जेल इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस के जरिए हम करते हैं. तो जेल इलेक्ट्रोफोरेसिस में क्या होता है कि यू कैन सेपरेट द डीएनए बेस्ड ऑन इट्स साइज, बिकॉज सारे डीएनए के ऊपर जो चार्ज है वो नेगेटिव होता है और वो सेम होता है. तो क्या होता है कि डीएनए जो है वो आप साइज की बेसिस पे सेपरेट कर सकते हैं. सो क्या करते हैं, यू हैव एन एग्रोस जेल. इस जेल के अंदर स्पेसिफिक साइज के पोर्स होते हैं. तो आप क्या करते हैं, यहाँ पे वेल्स बना के उनके अंदर डीएनए जो है वो अपलोड कर देते हैं. आप इलेक्ट्रोड्स लगा देते हैं. सो डीएनए बिकॉज इट्स नेगेटिवली चार्ज, तो वो क्या करेगा, वो पॉजिटिवली चार्ज एनोड की तरफ मूव करना शुरू कर देगा. तो क्या है कि इफ यू कट द डीएनए इनटू पीसेस, तो वो पीसेस जो हैं वो साइज की बेसिस पे सेपरेट हो सकते हैं. और अगर आपके पास एक मार्कर हो, मार्कर का मतलब है डीएनए फ्रेगमेंट्स विद नोन साइजेस, तो आप डिटरमाइन कर सकते हैं कि आपका जो डीएनए है वो उसका साइज जो है वो कितना है. सो दिस इज हाउ यू सी द डीएनए जेल के ऊपर. ओके, सो आप क्या कर सकते हैं कि डीएनए की डिटेक्शन जो है वो, फॉर एग्जांपल वायरस के इन्फेक्शन की डिटेक्शन जो है वो आप पीसीआर से कर सकते हैं. आजकल जो है वो कोरोना वायरस जो है वो बड़ा उसने हैवक किया हुआ है. सो व्हाट यू कैन डू इज कि यू कैन टेक ब्लड फ्रॉम इन्फेक्टेड पर्सन. उससे क्या होगा कि दिस इज फॉर एग्जांपल एचआईवी का बताया हुआ है, लेकिन कोरोना वायरस का इज द सेम प्रोसीजर. तो आप क्या करें कि प्लाज्मा के अंदर वायरस मौजूद है, तो यू आइसोलेट द प्लाज्मा. उस प्लाज्मा से आप आरएनए एक्सट्रैक्ट कर लेते हैं. आरएनए को फिर आप रिवर्स ट्रांसक्राइब कर लेते हैं. रिवर्स ट्रांसक्राइब मैंने आपको बताया कि उससे क्या बन जाएगा कि उससे आपका सीडीएनए बन जाएगा. सो एक स्पेशल एंजाइम है जो रिवर्स ट्रांसक्रिप्टेज एंजाइम है। वो क्या करेगा कि आरएनए से सीडीएनए बना देगा। इस सीडीएनए को आप एम्पलीफाई करके आइदर जेल के ऊपर देख लेंगे या वो रियल टाइम पीसीआर जो कि क्वांटिटेटिव पीसीआर है उससे आप मेजर कर लेंगे। जो कोरोना वायरस की डिटेक्शन हो रही है वो रियल टाइम पीसीआर से हो रही है और वो स्वाब जो है गले के अंदर से उससे नेजल स्वाब जो है उससे वो आरएनए आइसोलेट करके उसको रिवर्स ट्रांसक्राइब करते हैं, उससे सीडीएनए बनाते हैं और उसको फिर रियल टाइम से क्वांटिटेटिवली वो देख सकते हैं कि कितना आपका वायरस जो है वो उस सैंपल के अंदर मौजूद है। So that's it for the lecture today, and I will be available on Zoom for the live sessions on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So the reading for this is from the chapter 18 of the book Live: The Science of Biology, 9th edition. Thank you very much.